the digital infrastructure that everything is built upon, applications, communication, your favorite tool, right? Your favorite social media is built on a digital foundation. And that digital foundation, there's 3 providers, maybe 4. Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and maybe Oracle Cloud if you want to add them. But Oracle Cloud is much more business oriented, right? So for social media applications and general public applications, it's a lot less used. So that means that all these apps that you're using are all running on the same digital backbone, the same backbone that got big to begin with because they started selling your data, which is what they're still doing. They are still collecting every single click, and not just from one app, from everything.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for listening or even watching this podcast. So my name is Ferry. I'm your host at Beyond Myth podcast. This is our first season, as you may know. And today I'm happy that my guest is someone that I knew when I'm visiting Dubai. So he's a cool dude. But before that, as always, please support us. Please always give us feedback if you want to have a different topic for the coming seasons. But for the first season, we want to focus on highlighting the persons, the human, I call it, behind the profession, behind the industry. Because in cybersecurity, not everything is about hacking, pen tests, or any technical stuff, right? So we focus on the human, the persons behind it, and one of them would be Jai, and he has an interesting story because you are not directly coming from security background, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, I'm not.
Okay. So we will hear more about that. But yeah, so like I said, I met Jai in Dubai, of all places. But actually, we came from the Netherlands. I met him in Dubai. But before we go further, Jai, maybe please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, thank you, Ferry. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm very honored to be in your first season. So yes, Ferry and I met each other in Dubai at the GITEX Fair and Expand North Star when we visited there with the Dutch Pavilion, a Dutch mission that is organized by the Dutch RVO. It's, I think, an entrepreneurial organization that we have in the Netherlands. With this mission, the North Star mission, it was important to bring Dutch innovation towards West Asia. Ferry obviously has his innovation. We had ours. We met at the consulate's house. It was real fun. And I think Ferry and my father actually first started talking. So that's how we got into a conversation. Eventually, we even had a session at Baker Tilly, I believe, to talk about security and governance and compliancy in general. So a little bit about myself. My name is Jai Amir. I am 28 years old. Grew up in The Hague in the Netherlands. Studied in Utrecht and partly in the US. Joined the company of my dad and his co-founders in, I think it was May 2023, so almost 3 years ago. I have a background in biology and finance, so absolutely nothing to do with cybersecurity or security or IT in general, apart from the fact that my dad is a IT enthusiast and specialist for all his life. So I do remember the big IBM computers we had back home and the big Blackberries that we had back home. So I'm not completely foreign to the concept of technology and IT. Dad was very enthusiastic when it came to innovation and new stuff. So we always had empty boxes. And I still think right in the office now, because we just moved, we still have boxes with cables back from like 1995. Yeah, I kind of grew up with technology on the side. So that's how I ended up
All
here.
right, cool. But then, yeah, because you are, at least so far, you are the first person who doesn't have background in IT. Most of my guests so far, by the way, they also stumble upon security, I'd say unplanned. They start with a typical IT background, whether it's a programmer or IT help desk, but you are the furthest away.
Yeah,
So then the question would be, what really attracts you? Is it just like, because you're dad and then you kind of like forced to, or after a while you find like, okay, I think this is also a nice industry to work with, because then this can also be a inspiration for others.
I think it's a bit of a combination of both. I think obviously what we do, I think we get into that later on, but the mission that Dad had was very interesting. And I had to switch in career mode a little bit because the industry that I initially got into was no longer an option for me due to personal reasons. And then you have to make a sort of well-informed decision and to look at future perspective.
Mhm.
And I mean, technology is not going anywhere. And with that in mind, I figured, all right, jump on dad's company, jump on board there, learn on the job. Obviously, I'm not a developer or a coder, but what I've always been very good at is simplifying things from very complicated scientific perspectives. So translating that to so that anyone without that knowledge understands what we are doing. And that is a struggle that I feel a lot of technology companies run into. They are very passionate and very good in the technology part, but when it comes to explaining that in simple terms to, let's say, the general public, that's where it becomes complicated. So that's a bit the conversation that my dad had with me to see if I was interested in doing the same thing that I did during my education to do that in professional life. And that's a bit the gap that I've started filling. It's a lot of, you could name it business development. I would personally say it's a lot more in the direction of strategy and communication, because you have to understand the technology part to a certain degree, but actually to a very deep understanding, and then dumb it down or make it simple enough so you can make a pitch or a presentation that anyone understands. And if there's technology questions, obviously you have to be able to answer them. But sometimes technology questions can be coming from a very non-technical, non-tech person. That could be, so how do I log into the platform, right? So it's very wide. And that's the function I have now, and very happy with it. I do get a lot of positive feedback. I'm obviously never happy myself, but somehow people usually understand what I say and what I do. So that's always good.
Cool, cool. Oh yeah, by the way, for you who listen in, you might have heard the typical security functions where we talk about patching, securing, landscape, vulnerability scanning, and so on and so forth. So one of the main area why I'm interested talking to his dad and also Jay as well, they are talking about sovereignty. So for most people, I think at least the crowd that I'm into, yes, they hear a lot about this term, but they don't know exactly what does it mean, and then why is it important now to talk about sovereignty, and then why Jay and the company focusing on this topic. So the floor is yours. What is sovereignty? Why
You
people
op-
need to work on it?
you open Pandora's box. That's what you
Yeah,
just did.
yeah.
So yeah, let's start at the beginning. I think the whole story about what dad ended up doing with Antoine, our head of architecture, is revolving around data ownership. And I think when it comes to the technology side of things, it's a very select few of people who were already working in the IT space when internet was up and coming, right? Let's say in the late 90s, early 2000s. And, in true human fashion, technology always takes off, innovation takes off. After it's already there, we start questioning, okay, but how do we make this, I don't know, safe or compliant or affordable, or, asking very basic questions. But when it comes to innovation, we always ask them after, which is fine. And the internet is not an exception to that. I mean, 2016 is 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, I was happy that I could, listen to music on my phone while also scrolling on social media. And these days, you can close YouTube without it stopping playing. And we have AI and all the buzzwords that come from there. And my dad always had this strong opinion that it was very weird that there was so little governance around internet applications and what was happening with online awareness in general. So to start the conversation about sovereignty, we got to dig a little bit deeper. And that starts with the fact that obviously the internet was already huge. I think internet was first being used in the 70s, maybe 70s, 80s. It was
Yep,
the first
yep.
time
Back
it
then,
was being used.
even before I was born, so
Even
yes, a long
before
time ago.
that, right? So it's been for the young people looking, it's not something that was invented in 1999 or in 2010. Okay, it's been around for
Yeah,
a while, and
yeah,
the whole concept of the internet was to share data more efficiently,
yeah.
quicker. Instead of sending a letter, you could send an email or a fax or a mail, or that's where it started, right? Quicker information sharing, and that was very important because that allowed processes that took months to now
Mm.
happen in maybe weeks and somehow even days. Very important development. And then obviously the internet became available and accessible for you and me, the general public. And
Mhm.
that was good. The problem that arose there is that it was free. And that is a
Uh,
huge, huge, huge reason why we are in the situation that we are here today. Because what do people love more than good food? That's good free food. Matter of fact, free food,
um,
or in general, just free shit. That's what they love.
free stuff.
And free stuff. I'm not gonna lie. If I get something for free, I sometimes still have. I have my hub I use to connect to my monitor. I got it for free. I mean, I still use it. I'm very happy with it. But
Mm.
free stuff is kryptonite to humans. And what happened is because a lot of websites became obviously free for you to visit. You didn't have to pay to visit a website. Then obviously the introduction of smartphones came with Apple. So then Apple introduced iMessage. So you could text to each other free, right? So before you had to pay for a letter and a stamp to send it, but now it was free. And I understand why we did what we did because the whole concept was, all right, so I can just use this and it's easier and blah, blah, blah. Before the concept of texting over the internet was a thing, we had SMS, right? Like basic, plain old text message. And
Mm.
the telecom business in general had a lot of legislation and regulation to make sure that privacy and security was governed and respected.
Yeah.
Texting over phone, your text messages were secured and they were transmitted over private or not like public owned infrastructure. So it was never fully owned by one organization. Maybe you had a telecom provider like say T-Mobile or
Mm.
AT&T in the States, but we had KPN in the Netherlands or we had T-Mobile in Germany as well. And
For the phone.
for the phone, right? Your provider was that, but once your text message left, it was public infrastructure, and then it was secure that you had security over your text messages, so your privacy was governed and guaranteed to a certain degree, right? Then enter social media, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. Let's start the start of social media. I always call that Amazon and BlackBerry pinging. And what do we have? MySpace, Party Flock,
Friendster.
Friendster, yeah. So all these things.
Yeah.
And it was very easy. The only thing you needed was a mail address and a password. And then you had
Yep.
access to all these features that were free. So you are going to use them, obviously. The thing is, if you're not from a technological background, or not even a technological background, but don't even like think a little bit for a second and go, how can this be free? Because I am using a computer back in the day, which was expensive, to access a website that I can only access that on my computer that I have to pay for.
Mm-mm.
But then the transmitting over that signal is free. I only pay my internet bill, which is, I mean, not that expensive, right? And somehow I get to talk to all these people online or share all this information online without actually receiving a invoice for what I'm doing there. And that is, I think, the foundation of the sovereignty problem that we are in now. Because what we didn't know back then, or well, only a select few knew, is that what they were doing is they were collecting your data. Everything that you were doing, everything, every click, every message you send, every time you logged in, it got better over time, obviously, but that's how they started. So they started building up petabytes and petabytes of data about behavior of us on those platforms. And what can you do with user data? If I know when you log in, if I know who you're going to send a message to, if I know whatever you're doing on a platform, is I can do some little digging into seeing, okay, what is it that you like on this platform, right? Or what is the conversation that you're having and what in the conversation sparks your interest? And what's the first thing that we do when we have personal data is it's selling that data to get advertisement into these applications.
Yeah, true,
So
true. But
suddenly,
then just to build up, sorry to cut you there, but then to build up on that argument as well, is that one of the myth that you hear a lot from people that, hey, I'm just doing a simple stuff, so it's free, it's fine. No, like why do I need to care about it?
I mean, I remember when I was in, I think, first grade of high school. So, I mean, okay, no, that'd be put it easier because high schools are different. I was 12. And I remember Apple
Okay.
launched the iPod Touch in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
The iPhone was also launched then in the Netherlands. And then WhatsApp came. That was already a thing. And WhatsApp was free from the beginning. And I think within 6 months, there were these rumors that you had to start paying for WhatsApp.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
And the reaction from like the general public, like the users, was, oh, that's ridiculous. Why should I be paying for an app? In hindsight, it would have been better if, that meant that they were not collecting your data. But, WhatsApp stayed free. They sold it to Meta. And the thing, technology for a lot of people is still what they use in daily life, right? Not everyone is working in deep tech or in cybersecurity or in dark web monitoring or in cyber resilience or whatever you want to come up with, right? It's not everyone. Technology for a lot of people is just sending an email or being able to
call someone.
Call someone, right? It's very convenient. And the reason why it's convenient, it's because you download an app, you make an account, and that's it. There's no paying action, or at least they are not aware of the fact that they're paying with something else than currency that is a coin, like that is monetized. They're paying with your data because the data they can sell, and when they sell it, they make money. The point is, and to continue where we left off, is that that's the whole foundation of the internet. And then when it comes to innovation, all of these apps innovations in the early 2000s came from pretty much one country, which was the United States of America. And the US, when it comes to having power, is that's their, like, it's like saying, should we go to a walk to your dog, right? They want, oh, you want more power? And they go, yes. Yes. So they started investing billions in data centers, in backing these tech companies so they can make sure that they would grow in the digital space. One of the biggest companies that we have right now in the world is Oracle. And I am convinced that most people will only know, if they even know of Oracle, it's because they were the sponsor of Red Bull in the Formula One. That's it.
True.
That's how they know Oracle, right? Oracle is fucking everywhere. You have Oracle Finance, your general system, payment systems that Worldline uses, Oracle. You have Oracle Phone. You have Oracle Infrastructure, Oracle CRM. That's the backbone of everything that we build upon that. The same with Amazon Web Services. It's a bit more well-known, right? We know Amazon as the web shop. We also know AWS as the cloud infrastructure that it is. It's been, getting a lot more attention and information, and in that, let's say, negative media or in general media coverage in the last 2 years. But before that, people knew, right? I open Facebook. But the general public does not know that Facebook was built on Amazon Web Services, and the infrastructure under that is running on American data centers that have to comply with United States of America federal law and state law. So all your data is being scanned. So it's 1984 101. If people haven't read the book, then you should definitely do that. But what we have created with this thing is nothing more than a mic and a tool that gives big organizations access to everything that you're doing online. Every click you make in your OS system, every mail you send, every FaceTime you do, the time you open your WhatsApp, the time you open your Instagram, it's collected. They know. And that gives them everything that you do not want. Because if I tell you now, all right, Ferry, do you want to pay? And you say no, right? You say, oh, I have no problem with the fact that they can hear everything. And if that means that I can use Instagram and Facebook, I'm okay with that. I'd say, all right, that is fine. But then I would love the keys to your house. And now I'm going to follow you every day, every single second for the rest of the year. I'm quite confident you're not going to be happy with that.
No, that's true. I mean, if you put it like that, most people
that's what
like
this is.
that.
I will be there when you don't want to be there. When you don't want me to be there, right? You get home, I'm behind you. You want to sit on the couch, I will be next to you. You will eat your dinner. I am going to be there. You will have playtime with your kids. I'm next to that. You're going to take a shit on the toilet? I'm there too. I don't care. That's what this is. That's what we have given them. So what does that mean to sovereignty? And how does this translate into digital infrastructure? Because it's still a bit fake. I always use the example of construction, right? If you want to build a skyscraper, you first need to learn how to build a house. Housing, very simple. True. Construction workers, please don't come for me because I'm not a constructor, but I'm going to make it very simple, right? You need a foundation, right?
Yeah.
Then you need walls, and then you need a roof or like a first level. Then you need more walls. You have to strengthen those walls, and then you can put on another roof, right? Then you have a house. What we've been doing is two things, right? In the digital world, there's just a few people who can provide us with the foundation. We cannot build our own foundation, right? So let's say we're located in the Netherlands. When it comes to construction, we are quite well in what we do and what the sector professionals here can provide. But now let's say that the only people in the construction world that can provide foundation live in the Netherlands. So every other country in the world, when they want to build a house, they have to get someone from the Netherlands. What will that do for us? It gives us a huge monopoly, huge power. We control the whole entire market because without construction, you won't be able to build a house, let alone a skyscraper like the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, right? Or the Petronas Towers in Malaysia. The digital infrastructure that everything is built upon, applications, communication, your favorite tool, right? Your favorite social media is built on a digital foundation. And that digital foundation, there's 3 providers, maybe 4. Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and maybe Oracle Cloud if you want to add them, but Oracle Cloud is much more business oriented, right? So for social media applications and general public applications, it's a lot less used. So that means that all these apps that you're using are all running on the same digital backbone, the same backbone that got big to begin with because they started selling your data, which is what they're still doing. They are still collecting every single click, and not just from one app, from everything. You open your I don't know, your Amazon, you open your phone app, right, to check your phone bill. You open your IoT app, your smart app to see how your air purifier is working at home, or to check your camera on your pet, right? Or your baby monitor. It's all collected. So that means that your whole entire life, somehow, obviously it has value because it's your user behavior. It's your behavior. It's essentially just a big ass biology behavioral study that we collect tons of data and then we sell it to private companies so they can make more money because they know where you are going to be at a certain time purchasing a certain product. So they're going to advertise that to make sure that you buy more of that product. And you have absolutely nothing to say in this whole matter because we tried, right? We said, okay, hey, as a Europe-wise, we said, okay, there has to be a lot of laws and regulation to control the security and the privacy of the European citizens. Good start. If Amazon says, I don't want to comply, they'll just stop providing the infrastructure. So then suddenly your whole digital world in Europe falls apart. And that's not a unlikely scenario because of the guy who's running that country right now. So that's scary because the whole economy and innovation that we are doing right now worldwide is running on digital apps, right? Like let's use COVID for example. If we did not have video conferencing or anything like that, we would have been screwed.
Or even if we don't, even back then, even if we don't able to show the QR code or the code, and then we just go, hey, I want to get injected, and we're like, no, where's your code?
Where's the QR code? Right. Imagine that. Imagine that. Right. And I'm not saying it wouldn't be possible, right? Because we survived without technology for centuries. But I'm just saying we shifted towards such an online way of working that when you look at how fundamental it is to get control over your digital infrastructure, that's when you realize we have absolutely no control over our digital infrastructure at all. Like nothing. There's no control. And that's essentially the part where my dad started doing what we are doing now, is creating a European alternative to this problem, to provide a European cloud infrastructure that is hosted and owned by Europeans, first of all, and therefore will only comply and is only developed along the lines of the European guidelines and security laws, allowing something that we feel that should be introduced and something is not existing now. We are doing that right now. And that is owning your data, right? Just like you own the key to your house, or, I own this flask, right? If someone steals it, I can go to the police and report it stolen. But if someone steals your data online, that's much harder because then how and what and how can you prove it and
Yeah.
when did you
Yeah.
find out?
Yeah.
You need, and that's what we are doing with the cloud infrastructure that we build. It's called Apura Cloud. What we are doing here is creating digital ownership. So regardless of what is built on the digital, let's say, infrastructure, be it a social media app, be it a operating system, be it a name it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Anything that happens on that infrastructure that happens by you, like you fulfill an action on that, will be stored in your, let's say, account box, right? All your behavior, all what it does, it's owned by you. If you want us to collect it, that's a very important thing. Because if you don't, you turn that off, and then then the whole application does not collect anything. It just functions without data collection. Just how it should be, essentially, right? You open a website, you open your app, there's not going to be any cookies, right? There's not going to be any, oh, do you give us permission? We don't want permission. We want nothing to do with you. Only other side of the coin of that is that if you want to use apps, right, it becomes much like physical products. You want to use it, you got to pay for it.
You pay.
You pay, right? You want a car, you pay, right? You want a new notebook, you pay. You buy it, you purchase it, but it means it's yours. Like you pay to own it. A lot like the same way how the Microsoft Office world functioned in the early 2000s and the late 90s.
Yeah.
You bought for the for the young people. Right? We did not have even I still experienced it. It's a very weird time. I went even
Yeah.
to the digital museum in The Hague last week. There was still a box of it, let's say Office 2003. What you did is you went to the store and then you bought a CD-ROM with Microsoft Office on it. And you installed it on your computer. You paid for it. I think it was 180 euros back in the day. And that was it. It worked. No updates, no internet connection whatsoever. You just installed it on your computer and you had a text editing software on there. That's it. No syncing with your non-functional OneDrive application. No syncing with the internet. No accounts. Just, oh, this computer has Word. We had computers in school that did not have Word because they did not have a license, right? They didn't buy the product, right? So there was only a few computers that had Microsoft Word. There was also a few computers where they only purchased PowerPoint. So there had a few computers that only had PowerPoint, but the thing is, right, the first thing that people will think about this is, oh, well, then I have to buy every year a new. No, you could buy it. And I remember I used Office 2003 all the way till 2012 because we purchased this once and it functioned flawlessly. And that's then somewhere we shifted towards this more digital, footloose cloud, whatever infrastructure it is, subscription based, and everything is free, but we are collecting your data. And everyone started using Facebook, and everybody started using Instagram, and everybody started using WhatsApp and whatsoever. I mean, think about it. What are the day-to-day applications that people in Western countries use? WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. That's all one company. And whole of Meta is built on Amazon Web Services. And I mean,
so that's where only a handful of maybe person, not just an organization, a handful of person who can.
It is a
how to
handful.
call it?
That's it. It's not
Make
more
a
than that.
decision. Yeah.
That's it. That's the whole. I think we have seen in history that a monopoly is always a bad idea, which is why we have laws in place, right, to make sure that people don't get a full monopoly. But just always think about it. How many car brands can you name, right? Audi, Aston Martin, Bentley, BMW, Chrysler,
correct.
Mazda,
Tesla,
Ferrari, Tesla, it goes on and on and on, right? How much digital infrastructure names that we use in the West? Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, Google. That's it. 3. And all of our lives go over these tiny devices at this point. So the question then becomes, you are so protected in the physical world, right? I steal something of you, you can go to the police, right? I don't pay my taxes, right? I get to a court. I rip someone off, I go to court. There's protection here. I steal something from a store. There is all these guidelines and protection to make sure that in the physical world, you are protected, right? You are innocent until proven guilty. That means that as a country, you can be sovereign, right? You have your own laws, you have your own, legislation, you have your own judges, you have your own police, you have your own, the whole shebang, right? That is run by your country. But our lives now are not just offline. You could pretty
Yeah.
much argue that it's just as much as, if not even more, online. If you look at the screen time of a lot of younger people,
Yeah.
not even younger people, you go to work. If you're not doing blue collar work, you will work behind a computer. So
Yeah.
that means that you are working in a digital space. And when it comes to the protection within the digital space, there is none. And that sounds dramatic, but it factually is. A very, very good example I can give you for this is there have been a number of cases where nudes of women were unconsensually shared on social media platforms.
Yeah.
They go to the police, they file a report, and it gets to a judge. Now, the judge will say, obviously, this is not allowed, this is illegal. So the person has to remove the pictures. However,
Mm.
how social media is built right now is you can't see who downloaded it, who shared it. Once it's up there, you lose full control.
Yeah.
So what happens then is the judge then orders the company of the social media, be it, let's say, Meta in this case, because that's the most used social media right now, like Instagram and Facebook. And they tell Facebook or Instagram, like, hey, this and this happened. That's illegal in our country. You got to remove the picture. And then Instagram or Facebook go, oh yeah, but we're a US company. Like, it's legal here. So we're not removing it. So here in the physical world, in the Netherlands, if I would take a picture of a person, unconsensual, and start sharing that, like, let's say, handing out copies, right? I would be in a lot of trouble.
Correct.
I will get prosecuted. I will face charges. I will face punishment as we build our society. Very normal. But in the digital world, that fully fades because the jurisdiction of your law and all that, it ends by your borders, doesn't cross it. But internet crosses all borders. And then your sovereignty as a nation, but also your sovereignty as an individual, it fades because there's no strict border, no strict point of no return anymore. So when it comes to the sovereignty argumentation and discussion that is coming up now, right, with the whole attitude of the US and we are not sovereign, we have nothing to say, we have absolutely no control, that is not dramatic. That is exactly how it is. If they wanted to, they could. And trust me, they are doing everything that you think they will not do. A very, very easy way to remember or to see what they're doing is whenever you hear any American or American governmental official or the American government or the American president say China is doing, then they are doing it. And I mean not China, but I mean the American companies, because they are in fact doing it. Because the big difference between American infrastructure and Chinese infrastructure, Chinese companies tell you what data they steal. They tell you up front, hey, I want access to this, 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 and I will collect this, this, and this. You go to any American company and they go, oh no, we don't collect data. Meanwhile, they are very heavily. I mean, Cambridge Analytics, Google had a massive data breach where they were collecting in-mail communication. So not just mail behavior, but the subjects you were talking about in your emails, they were monitoring that. So the whole idea of, the internet is a free space and it's secure and, to make the bridge to security. And yeah, you can put in a lot of security layers in the business world, right? And all that. But when it comes to the foundation, we have no control there. We have no foundation. And it's fun that we can build all these things on top of this building, right? We can build constructions, we can build skyscrapers, we can build windmills and all that. But if we don't own or are not able to create our own infrastructure, then at the end of the day, we are, depending on the goodwill of the provider of that infrastructure. And the moment you are dependent on someone, that means you lose all control and sovereignty in that conversation.
Yeah.
And that's a huge security risk.
Yeah.
Huge. Because, the government here in the Netherlands works on Microsoft Teams. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What during COVID, they had breakout rooms in Teams. The government, the most secure organization we should have in a country, ran on Microsoft Teams. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? No. What do you mean?
This whole discussion about data sovereignty, and I think most listeners also will kind of like, why Ferry in this episode is quiet? No, it's just for me the whole discussion of The topic itself is, of course, fascinating, right? Because as a security professional, sometimes we focus on let's say application layer. We talk about the boundaries that we care about or what we can control. But whenever I talk to Jai or to his dad, I feel like there is another layer of security, which in this case, data sovereignty, that not many people sound as enthusiastic or passionate as they are. That's why I keep quiet myself because it is something again interesting and something that I also want to share in this podcast as well. But coming back to the initial questions I have about yourself again, we focus on the person behind the industry or the profession, and I'm sure now the audience also agree how passionate Jai can be when it comes to talk about this. But then the question would be then, hey, many people said that if I want to be in cybersecurity arena or field or industry, then I need to be very technical. Do you agree with that? If
No.
not, I mean, of course, you are now the example of that,
I am
but
an example of not,
you
but
said
I
you don't
feel
agree. Like why? Why? Like what do we need in cybersecurity other than technical? Let's call it like that.
I think it depends on what you want to do in tech, right? Do you want to be a programmer? Do you want to be a coder? Do you want to be a hacker? Or do you want to work with tech? And that's a difference, because working with tech means doing something that I do. My conversations and my meetings are not with the developers apart from our own, but from to the outside, we talk with people who are in positions to make decisions. Head of growth of an organization. Matter of fact, the politicians we talk to as well, they're not technical experts. So if I put you and all your coding experience to the Ministry of Infrastructure in the Netherlands, that person will look at you like you are speaking another language. That's a huge gap. And that's where I get in, because I can. It's very much, and it's not, it's not insulting, but some subjects people just don't know as much about as you do. So it's up to you to make it understandable for them. So dumb it down a little. If someone in a room of people doesn't understand, that's not that person's fault. It means that you did not explain it correctly. And in that area, that's where you can work with tech, right? You can have the passion. I love technology, right? I have no ambition to code anything myself. I don't. I do it on the side because, it's fun sometimes to program a little game or
Yeah, yeah.
just, I do love Excel though, like spreadsheets, because I'm always surprised how much you can do with that. Those type of things, yes, I like to do that. But penetration testing and getting excited about finding flaws in codes, that's other people's interest, right? That's people that we have work for us. That's people who we work with. That's people who we help. But their struggle is, how do I sell something that I built? And that's very simple. You need to be able to talk to the people who are buying. And a lot in the tech world, the people who are buying are not technology educated, right? They know the buzzwords. So
I like this one. I like this one.
if you want to
Going on.
work if you want to work in tech, then yes, then go into data analytics, right? Go into cybersecurity, go computer science, work in artificial intelligence. Yeah, sure. That's enough. That go to any technical university. You can do a lot of cool stuff there, right? And technology is not just software and hardware regarding compute, right? You can go into aerospace engineering. You get into manufacturing, industry installations, nuclear energy, power plants, energy transition, right? There's enough. But in all those subjects, it's very interesting that you can calculate the diameter of a tube that is necessary for optimal fuel flow to your GEX90 engine on your Boeing 7. Who wants to buy that plane doesn't care about that detail. What it cares about is, all right, is it going to make me more money? And in that translation, that's where you need people like me, because I can talk to my technician and my technician will go on and on and on about a tiny feature that they created, because that's their passion. And that's amazing. But you don't want that person to talk to someone who needs to purchase it, because they ask the question, hey, so how much do I have to change my workflow if I use this instead of Microsoft Teams? And then my answer would be here, here, and here. We can help here and here. Instead of, well, we can look at, you don't want an in-depth answer, right? It's a yes or no question. This is the answer to the question. And that's what I consider working with tech. because you work within the space. Because we also have tech lawyers, right? Do you think a AI lawyer understands
True.
the concept of artificial intelligence? Absolutely not. Matter of fact, even people working in AI don't know what AI is, right? They just think, oh, yeah, well, it's in self learning. No, it's not. Most of those AI tools are just Power BI at best. At best, most of the time, it's just an algorithm doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's not AI, but you can work like you have the crypto bros. I always call them the guys who make these podcasts and these videos about they make a fortune with crypto. Do you think they code in blockchain? No, they don't. And that's working with tech. They made a fortune working with tech. They don't work in tech. If you ask them to code, let's say, even one program in a blockchain platform, I'm quite confident most of them would look very confused.
I like this one. I like this one. Now, the reason why I poke you on this is because I think end of 2024 and throughout 2025, whenever I go to Southeast Asia, especially to Indonesia, I kind of offer myself to give a guest lecture to universities. And I also told students, I think third year or fourth year of their bachelor, I always tell them that, hey guys, I mean, cybersecurity is industry. It's not profession. It's not a role. Cybersecurity is industry. So if you passionate about UI UX, we in this industry you also need something beautiful, because if not, then all our security tools will be just command with text, black screen. We hate them. So we need something beautiful as well. And people don't see it like that. Even like someone came to me, okay, I heard a lot about cybersecurity, but I'm from language major, English language major. I said, like, we need a good copywriter because if not, when people ask me, I mean, I'm technical by nature, so like when people ask me, yeah, then I will give him a straight answer according to my limited copywriting skill. But if you like to be in this industry, we need people like you as well. And that's
100%.
the part where I keep telling people, hey, there are plenty people out there who are not, let's say, started from whether IT or technical, but they are thriving in cybersecurity. And we need people, more people like that as well. Then this industry will thrive as well. We can convince people like yourself, okay, if I need to explain to someone who don't really technically savvy, then I need to have a different kind of like a language, so to say. Then maybe I can convince him to do something that they don't want to do it in before. But just to wrap up this discussion, Jay. So just build on top of that. You've seen a lot for the past 3 years, talk to so many people, and every day nowadays people talk about AI will take our job. That's number one. Number two, there's no future for young people because it's difficult. If now you are in my position, the one that I said earlier, so hey, now Jay, in front of let's say 100 to 200 people, students on their third year or fourth year, what would you like to say to them in terms of uh, profession or cybersecurity in general?
I think keep an open mind. I think that's one. There in any industry you can find a touch point. Take your English major, for example. You could work at a LLM company to improve their contextual understanding of literature, for example, right? Or anything. So AI will take our jobs? Not really. I don't believe in that. And that is because of the same reason that people thought that the whole world would change and no stores would exist when the internet came along, right? It's
We still have
AI.
Albert Heijn.
I still have to go to grocery store. Like, what do you mean? And the whole AI bubble in general, let's start with the fact that 95%, let's say even 99% of that is not artificial intelligence. It's just an algorithm that does exactly what it needs to do, or Google on steroids, right? Instead of you having to click, it does it for you. That's it. That's not AI. That's just a much more compute power. That's what it is. So, yes, maybe in some processes, AI will adjust and improve efficiency. I, however, have a different opinion in what jobs AI will do because artificial intelligence and algorithms work on data. Data driven jobs will
Trust.
be cast aside first. No, or baker on the corner. No, your plumber. Absolutely not. Your mechanic who needs to repair robots. No. What will change lawyers, judges, actual based decision makings that needs no bias at all or a minimal bias, right? That's what changes. You want to have a CEO making strategic decisions, then an AI system in the future will 100% make better informed decisions compared to a CEO who is at that position. I feel like the people who are selling and telling you that AI will take the jobs don't realize that AI will come for their jobs and not for the jobs that he is saying, because that's where AI drives the best, because AI drives on data, and data based decisions need data based constructions, right? That you're not going to have that in your cafe at the corner, right? Your barista is not going anywhere.
We still
Your
need good
travel
coffee.
your travel guide is not going anywhere, right? Where will it change? Exactly what I said, the very factual jobs. That's where you will see
Mm.
a difference. Teaching, it's not going to go anywhere. You think kids will teach from a screen? You still need a human in front of the class. So, I mean, if kids and students are now, a little bit confused in the job market, sweetheart, I am too, because I do not understand anything of what's going on regarding the job market. It's changing every second, right? Then it's this is important, then this is important. At the end of the day, just ask yourself the question, like, what is it that humans want? And I think in my case, that is security and safety. So however that box of a human need is filled, that's not up to me. But within that general sector, there's enough you can do, I think.
Awesome. Hey, Jay, thank you so much for this lovely chat today. Thank you for your valuable
Likewise.
time. And yeah, for those who listening or watch this podcast, once again, thank you very much for joining us in our first season. If you have any feedback, any comment, please drop down below. And if you have any other topics you would like me to talk about, whether it's the next episode or the next seasons, just let us know. We'll try our best, of course, to always improve this podcast. And simply because we do believe that there are many great people like Jay here around the world who we also need to expose and we need to introduce as well. Because if you look into the current media, the current podcast, the current ecosystem, nothing against American, by the way. That's the start of the disclaimer. It's just like, hey, this world is built by so many fantastic people around the world. It's not just from the US, but there are people in Europe, in Asia, in Middle East. They also have, you know, thought-provoking mind and good insight and can be available for everybody. Just try to be balanced as well. And that's the reason why we started this podcast this year. And we will try our best to keep pushing. And it's not just about the topic, but we want to highlight the persons behind the stories. So that's all from my side. Once again, good morning, good evening, and maybe good afternoon for you. Yeah, keep watching, keep listening, and then come back for the next episode. Thank you so much. Bye bye.